All right, we're going live, everybody. Hello. How's it going? Hopefully you're doing well today. I wanted to talk about how you can get your hands on some Horween leather. And I've got my little iPad here to make sure the audio is sounding good. But if everything's sounding good, looking good, let me know. It's kind of hard for me to see myself without this iPad here. All right, let's see if it's working. All right, it's working. Cool. Well, let's get into this. I think one of the things that I get asked about most frequently is where can you get Horween leather? And I hope you guys liked the video I did, the walkthrough Horween that I put up last week. And the reason I say that is that because that video has caused a little bit of a ruckus. And I enjoyed doing it, but there's been some unintended side effects of me putting that out into the world. And I wanted to try to clarify some information from what people may have seen in that video that may be interpreted in certain ways. But we're going to talk about today where you can get Horween leather. And I also wanted to talk about how long it takes just to produce a single piece of leather. We'll talk about specifically how to make chrome excel, the processes that they take. And then I'll also talk about shell cordovan, which is a total bear for production time, and it's pretty wild. What's up, guys? Mike Cruz is here. Timekeeper's here. Jim, good to see you, Jim. Jim, quick note for you. We have your Capone started. I ran out of the thread for your wife's wallet, so we're going to need a little bit of extra time. Maybe by the end of this week. Definitely next week we should have that one for you. But that's on me. I'm sorry for that. That's taking a little longer. But yours is ready, and I have your watch strap here too. And AV Leather's here too. John Gray, what's up? Half teal Herbie. Yeah, so I have that on the table here. And that's the other thing we'll look at is I have so much. Here, let me give you just a quick spin here. There's so much cool stuff on the table today. And there's all those Herbies are tall Herbies. We have some tall Tonys. And right now also... Whoa, hey, what's up? Also, right now we have a pre-sale going on for tall Tonys, and a lot of people have been picking those up, and I'm really excited for you to have those. And we did some leathers that we've never done before on that pre-order. The big one is the stone horsehide. It's like the most gray leather that I've seen from Horween that is aniline finished. I can get you like a perfect gray, but it's going to look like paint. So the stone latigo is pretty cool to check out. And I don't have much of that leather, which is, we're only going to do it for these tall Tonys for this pre-order. So let's get into this, guys. What's up, Matt Thomas and Mark? Let's go into some of the stuff that you may have seen in the Horween walkthrough video that I did a week ago. And some of the feedback that Horween has received, which this is the unintended consequences. They've got some customers that have been waiting for leather for quite a while. And when you see a video like that, me walking through a tannery where they just make leather all day, it looks like they have a lot of leather ready to go. In fact, everything in that video, with the exception of the shipping room, is leather that's in process. So most of that stuff still has weeks to go to be able to be made properly. And in the case of the shell cordovan, you might remember when I called out in that video the stack that said 1,000 butts. That leather is not even close to done. And each of those different piles that you saw of the stacks of 1,000 butts, which just makes me giggle a little bit still, but each of those stacks are curing, and they're curing for different amounts of time. That's part of the process that takes such a long time to do right. When they tan that leather, there's a certain application of oils and greases that are tanned into the leather, and they take a while to cure and to do it the right way. I like to think of it like dry aging a steak or something like that. It's just going to take the amount of time it's going to take to fully lay itself out into the fibers of the shells, and it takes time. So a lot of those stacks of leather, sure, it looks like there's a lot, but those still have months to go. So there was some confusion that I've created, and perhaps some from frustration for some people by showing that. So I'm a little regretful of that, but I thought it would be interesting to show you guys, which is why I showed it. They haven't asked me to take it down, but I thought it would be the right thing to do to try to explain, what you're seeing in some of these things, because if you don't have any context, you might assume things are a little different than they are. The other thing is, let's talk about how long it takes to make leather, and specifically the chrome excel and the shell cordovan. Before I get to that, I really want to mention this. You can buy the Horween stuff right now. So the only challenge is it might not be exactly a exact color that you want, or the right thickness that you want, or even the right leather tannage that you want. There's two places I suggest that you can get leather right now. The first one I want to mention is the Tannery Row, and a lot of people that are familiar with me are probably familiar with the Tannery Row. They're one of two outlets that Horween sells to for crafters like myself to buy directly from. And I was just on the phone with Tannery Row, and I said, what do you have right now that you suggest? And I took a look at their website. He said, just go on to our website. It's thetanneryrow.com. And I'm going to look at that really quick also. So if you go to thetanneryrow.com and just click on their shop, every piece of leather or every item that they show is in stock on their website, they have ready to go. So you can get that right away. And there are a couple things that I want to point out on their site. There's a leather that they have that I really like a lot that we used to have like as our standard offerings. Back when we were doing a lot of Louis Little New Yorks, we made a lot of product on a leather called Cavalier Chrome Excel. And Tannery Row has a ton of Cavalier right now in a bunch of really cool colors. And the reason that you see these cooler colors on the Cavalier Chrome Excel is because that's the version of Chrome Excel that Horween has created to allow them to do bright colors. And I'll try to explain this a little bit for you. But the idea here, when you tan Chrome Excel, roughly half of that leather is wax and oil and grease. So if you think about it, you can't really get vivid, bright colors on these leathers that are just so full and so rich with fats. They tend to be a little bit more earth tony and a little bit more muddy in color because there's so much oil. So Horween, what they did, they created a secondary product, a variant on the Chrome Excel, where they cut the amount of the grease and the wax and oil that is tanned into the leather. They cut that way down. So it's a little bit less rich, but what it allowed them to do is to get these vibrant colors. So take a look on the tanneryrow.com. I'm looking at their colors right now. They've got, what do they have? Like, let's see. So you can select different thicknesses, the different weights that they have. Right now I'm looking at their 3.5 to 4 ounce. They have London Bus Red, they have Ink, Gulf Green, Carolina Brown, Whiskey, and Plum. I've used on our stuff 2 of those 3 colors as standard items for us. And the 2 colors that I love the Ink. The Ink color is like, it's this really nice blue. The undertones are really vibrant and sort of not aqua, but they're just like this vivid bright blue on the pull-up color for the Ink Cavalier, and the surface is a little bit more navy. We also did the Whiskey Cavalier, which is like a nice yellowy color. It's a little different than the shell color. It's more yellow than the shell whiskey color, but it's a really nice shade. Those are the 2 colors from Tannery Row that I have used before, and I love them, and our customers love them. They also have all those other colors, and you'll notice that they're really vibrant colors. So if you want leather right now, check out the Tannery Row. The other place that I highly suggest, and even for me, I would buy this if I wasn't buying it from Horween directly. There's a company called Maverick Leather that I also can't suggest enough. Take a look at Maverick Leather, give them a call, because they have leather ready to go right now, and they're seconds from Horween. And the thing about the seconds from Horween, for me, like, their seconds are totally fine. Like, I think their seconds that I bought seconds from Horween. As long as you know what you're looking at and you can avoid some of these imperfections, it's great. And you just get it for a better price, and it's ready to go right now. So take a look at Maverick. They have all sorts of stuff. They buy every second that Horween makes, and they resell it to you. So highly recommend checking out Tannery Row. Highly recommend checking out Maverick. Because they have leather ready to go right now. So part of the other confusion that I created was the lead times at Horween. If you're trying to buy a custom run of many feet, and we're talking like thousands of feet of leather, many sides of leather, you're probably going to buy from either Tannery Row directly or from Horween directly. These tend to be customers for Horween that are really large. Somebody like Alan Edmonds is buying directly from Horween. To get an accurate lead time quote, you're going to have to contact them directly. And even if you're a small person and a smaller crafter, you're not buying thousands of feet, maybe you're buying 1 or 2 sides, I still suggest messaging Horween directly through their website. They have a contact form on horween.com. And I was just talking to Nick Horween. He suggests people reach out to them right there. It's either going to go right to the main salesperson for Horween Leather, and they can get you information of maybe they're going to send you to Tannery Row or Maverick, or maybe they have some other option to get you leather right away. And if you're looking for a custom makeup, custom color, custom whatever, they can give you an accurate quote as opposed to looking at my video and assuming. Just go ask them directly, because there's been a bit of a challenge in the world with COVID and manufacturing. I think they were a little bit behind schedule because of that. But if you're looking for the real information, just go right to them. Even the stuff I'm saying right now, just take my word for it. But like, I would much rather have you go right to the source. And they're encouraging everybody to check out horween.com if you have any questions at all. So let's talk about how long it takes to make some of this stuff. And I don't think here. I was a little worried I didn't have any Chrome Excel on the table. Looks like I only have a couple Chrome Excel watch straps today. So this is a natural Chrome Excel watch strap. And what this is representing in my mind is about 6 to 8 weeks of time. Just this little piece of a watch strap. And the way I think about everything we make is it's just a accumulation of time and a physical representation. All the wallets, there's so many months of tanning for the shell cordovan, and then our crafting time to do this the right way. It's just like a physical manifestation of like all the time that is put into this. So something like the Chrome Excel, this is a leather that is very much not straightforward for any tannery to make, which is why Horween is the only one that's making this. It's made in such a way that in fact, every product that I can think of that they make, it's maybe bad business, but they're thinking of it not from how much money are we going to make on this thing. They're thinking of it from more of like, what's the coolest, most badass leather we can make? And something like Chrome Excel hasn't changed in 100 years. And that's because it's pretty awesome for many things, just straight out of the box, and they don't need to change it. But part of the problem with it is in that tanning process, the steps cannot be compromised. So for example, there is a process called hot stuffing where the tannery will take a steam heated drum, and then you actually saw this in the walkthrough video. I had all those kettles of waxes and oils. They'll take buckets of those waxes, throw them into this steam heated drum, and pound the leather, pound those materials into the leather. So all that wax and oil just gets pounded right inside of this, which is why it has so much wax in it and oil in it. But the problem with it is once you take it out, that leather is just sopping wet. It's full of wax and oils. It's really greasy. And then they have to dry it. And in order to dry that, because it has so much wax in it, they can't actually put it through the normal drying machines because it actually will clog those machines because of the high oil and wax content. So what they end up doing, and there's a good thing, another good side effect of drying it in this other way, they'll hang dry it. And what the hang drying allows you to do is it allows you to dry that really waxy and oily piece of leather and not clog a machine. But also, I like to think of it like drying your clothes on a clothesline. It kind of shrinks back up. Like your clothes, you might notice, will become a little tighter on your body. And that same thing happens with the Chrome Excel leather when they air dry it. The reason that that's interesting is it actually, because you're bringing all those fibers back together, the leather has a tighter break. So something like a piece of footwear that's cut from the right spot on the leather will have a tighter break on the Chrome Excel because they're spending an extra week to 2 weeks just to air dry that leather. And that's 2 weeks of time. Many tanneries can make 2 batches of leather just in the amount of time that it takes to dry the hot stuffing portion of the Chrome Excel. And that's just one little step for the Chrome Excel leather in specific. that kind of represents the whole process for them. There are many steps that are printed onto their procedure. We call them tickets at the tannery. There are steps in there where we say, stop what you're doing and let the leather sit overnight. That is probably counterintuitive to any tannery that's going to watch me say this right now. But Horween takes the time to let it cure properly after each step. And what that does, it depends on what step you're at. But some of the finishing needs a little bit of extra time to cure properly, to get maybe a good adhesion onto the leather. You got to let it sit overnight. If you rush things, they tend to be a little bit worse. So I find that those couple examples to be well representative of the whole philosophy for Horween. Everything they're doing is not necessarily about like how fast you're going to get it or how cheap it's going to be. They're trying to make it the best it can be, and that stuff takes time. So that's Chrome Excel. I mean, I was talking to Skip Horween after this video came out last week, which caused them some issues, and he thought it would be valuable for him and I to walk through the tannery's steps for Chrome Excel. And we're not going to give any secrets away from them, but he thought it'd be really useful for me to show you all of these steps and explain what you're seeing, so you understand like why this stuff takes so long. And, you know, me just talking about it's not good enough. Like, we need to go over to the tannery and show you that. But I also want to talk about the shell cordovan, and then we'll get to your chat, and then we'll look at some wallets here. I'm totally rambling today. What's the craziest thing I can show you right now? Okay. I pulled out one of my favorite wallets we've ever made here. So I pulled out a piece of shell here. And this is a modification on our Fat Herbie, and kind of in the same vein of how we're doing the tall Tonys. We can do tall Herbies now. So the bill slot here, normally we have the thumb notch in the back. Well, this bill slot goes all the way to the top. It's just a little bit different of a vibe, and we started doing that. This is a piece of whiskey shell cordovan. And I'm talking about a physical representation of time. This represents like 6 months and 2 weeks of time for me. And that's because the leather, it gets repeated frequently. The shell cordovan takes 6 months to properly produce at Horween. I can't speak for any other tanneries, but the way that they make it, and I think the reason that it stands out when you compare different tannery shell, the reason that the Horween stands out is because they take that extra time. And there's two big time sinks that I can explain to you. Shell cordovan is pit tanned using a tree bark blend that they make in-house. They actually buy all these tree barks and they cook them down into, they call it a liquor of different tree barks, and it's a special blend that they've had for a century. So number one, it takes a long time to cook those tree barks, and it's pretty wild. I'd like to show you that too, the cooking process. But after that, it takes 2 months to tan the leather in the pits. And the shell is so dense, it requires that long of time. And you might have seen, like Rendenbach does like a leather outsole. That type of veg takes a long time to pit tan also. The shell actually goes in and out of the pit twice in 2 different pit tanning methods. And it's very interesting. But the reason that they have to do that is because they slowly increase the concentration of the tannins in the veg tree bark liquor that they're putting into the pit. And I'll try to say that one more time. The leather goes into the pit, and they, over the course of 2 months, they're slowly increasing the amount of tree barks that are put into that pit. Because if you put too much tree bark in right away, you kind of make it a little bit more fragile. The leather becomes a little bit more papery if you quickly veg tan it. So they're very gently tanning these dense shells over 2 months. That's wild. 2 months of time is crazy for any manufacturer. They're buying all the skins, they're buying all the materials, and they're sitting on it for those 2 months without being able to turn it into money. The other thing that they're doing is those piles of leather that I showed in the walkthrough, the 1,000 butts pile, that has to cure after they hand apply waxes and oils and greases to the shells. And it has to cure for 2 to 3 months. And again, that's the process I was talking about that is kind of like aging a steak. you really need time for those oils to migrate evenly throughout the shells. And it's perhaps because the shells, again, are very dense. If you don't spend enough time and to let those waxes and oils settle and sort of naturally spread themselves out over the shell, you don't get as nice of a hand feel and as nice of a feel, temper, the firmness or softness. You don't get this nice roundness unless you let it sit there and cure properly. So those are the huge time sinks, and that's 2 steps out of maybe 100 steps. We haven't even talked about finishing or anything like that. So the shell cordovan is a monster of a process, and that's something I'd like to also show at the tannery. I don't know if Skip's going to allow me to show that, but he did mention that he'd like for me to show you guys how they make Chrome Excel. So you get a sense of like how much actual effort and work goes into this stuff. And maybe that would help people understand like why they can't just call up Horween and get leather right now. But again, if you want leather right now, check out Tannery Row and check out Maverick. They got leather from Horween ready to go right now. I suggest them both. And looks like we got a bunch of people chatting up here. I want to flip the camera around. And one more thing, I was talking to my dad before I started live streaming here. If you own, and I'll talk to you too, Matt. My brother Matt's here. If my dad is calling me up saying, "Hey, should I buy Dogecoin?" It's probably time to sell Dogecoin. So just saying, if my dad's giving me stock tips or crypto tips, he doesn't know anything about computers. So let's flip it around. And yeah, I see Fatal says, "Do I know A&A crack?" Yes, I do. Let's show you some of the things that we're shipping out today, and then I can get into the chat here and we can take a look at what you guys have to say. All right. So I did tease you with this guy. This is, I mentioned that tall Herbie, and this is the whiskey shell. This one also has hidden card slots on the inside. These are not stitched all the way down. So you have this big open compartment with the 2 card slots on top. This is one of my favorite Herbies that we've ever done. I also want to mention again, we've got that right now. We have a pre-order thing, and everybody that's participating in this pre-order sale for the tall Tony here, thank you guys so much. The response that we've had on the tall Tonys here is pretty fantastic. And this is one of the more popular colors from that pre-order that we're doing right now. This is the natural shell cordovan. And again, the difference here between the regular Tony the Ant and the tall Tony is the bill slot in the back goes all the way to the top. We don't have that exterior thumb notch. And what that allows us to do is to flip this piece around backwards. So we have a really clean interior, this consistent color and leather all through the inside. I think that's what makes the tall Tony a little bit more special and unique. All right. Oh, we got a bunch of stuff. I'm all over the place here. So we had a couple orders for, and everything on the table here, if you see an item that looks like something you ordered, it's probably shipping out today, and it's probably your thing. This is most of the stuff that we're shipping. There's some other things I see across the room that we're not shipping yet, but I wanted to show you 2 English tan Dublin Capones. This one is our standard one with a silver money clip that you can see on the inside there. And we had a special order for some different color hardware. This one has a black clip that I like very much. This is actually the one that we originally prototyped it with, and the one that I'm wearing right now. So we can do those different color clips. I'm a little reluctant to say this because I don't have a lot of them, a lot of the different hardware right now. But if you're into that, I can totally do that. Let's get a look at this too. This is also English Tan Dublin on our valet tray. The thing that's a little special about the Dublin, I'd say it's quite special, is all this natural character on the outside, on the bottom of this tray that you can see. And all the Dublin is random. Like you're never going to see 2 pieces that are exactly the same. And that's this bit of figuring and texture that you might be able to see better here. See how this little bit of texture here? That's going to depend on the side, and they're all a little bit different. I really like that, but it's hard to get a consistent look. And the other thing, the grain character, because it's a full grain leather, it's just super, super grainy and really, really nice. What we do on our Dublin is we actually get it finished on the flesh side. So we put a little bit of a resin finish to bind these fibers together. It just gives it a little bit more smooth and clean appearance on all the reverse sides of the leather that we do. And we do that on the Chrome Excel too. Here's another wallet that we're shipping. Check this out. This one's been personalized for FKH. And this is like a perfect piece of shell. Color 8 shell cordovan right here. This is that classic shell color. If you look at the inside here too. And then we've got all these watch straps. Jimmy, who's the guy that's at every live stream. Jimmy, this one's for you. This is another one. We're talking about custom hardware. I only have a couple more of these, but this is a gold buckle on your watch strap. And I think that turned out great. I was really happy seeing this one earlier. Now, this might not work for a lot of different watches, but I think it's going to work well for you. So you got a cool watch strap. And I mentioned on your Capones that you ordered, I still need about a week on those. Here's another watch strap. This is the Apple Watch band. Check this out, though. This is black reverse, and it has more green than I normally see. That is awesome looking. So you can see the part that's going to touch your wrist here, the black shell. This is the side that the shells were intended for. That's the shell side. This is actually the grain side of the shell. And man, that's really cool. I wanted to go into that topic a bit, but maybe I should save that for another day. Essentially, somebody did he might even be here. Dale from Aero Surfer LV did a video on how they get at the shells, sort of like the different layers of shell. There's a grain layer, a flesh layer, and then a shell layer. Horween actually gets to the shell by digging through the flesh layer. So the side on the other end of it. So this is the shell side. There used to be flesh on top of it. This is actually the grain side on the back here, that lighter color. But we have a couple different watch straps, again with two different hardware colors here. This is green shell with a black piece of hardware. And here's the corresponding piece to that. But we can also do these pieces of silver hardware also on the green. So we have the silver and black hardware for the Apple Watch bands. Just want to show you the green shell again. The green shell is really nice. So I'm going to linger on it for a moment. And sometimes this appears maybe a little dark and black, but when you put it next to a piece of black, like here's a black shell, you could sort of immediately see how green it is. So here's that black shell strap. Oh, here's another one that's good to compare with black. So this is blue shell. I think this is the intense blue. So by itself, it might just read as a black, but when you put it next to something that's actually black, you can definitely tell the blueness to it. And we've got some Chrome Excel. So we were talking about Chrome Excel earlier. This takes so long to make. Just the effort involved in tanning Chrome Excel is pretty wild. But what really distinguishes Chrome Excel is this character called the pull-up. So when you flex this leather, you get a little bit of lighter undertones, like you can kind of see here, with a little bit darker, more brown surface color. That to me is what really stands out about the Chrome Excel leather, and just how rich and waxy and oily it feels. So we have a natural Chrome Excel strap here, and here's a color 8 Chrome Excel strap also. And this color 8 is really, really nice. See how dark it is on the surface color, but the part where it's going to wrap over the pins is so much more burgundy and cherry. And again, that's the pull-up on the Chrome Excel. It's really nice. Just the range of color that the Chrome Excel has, from the surface color to the pull-up, gives it a lot more life, a lot more interest. You can see on the back side of this guy, the flesh side, we actually stained in and finished a little bit of resin onto the flesh side, to clean that up a little bit. And it looks like we got one more watch strap here. Amaretto shell. This is my favorite shell color. And this color didn't exist a few years ago. So this color came along at the same time as the ultraviolet and the denim blue shell. That's when the amaretto came about. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago now. So let's get the straps off the table here and show you some wallets, because there's some crazy, like somebody noted this teal. There's some really cool stuff that we're shipping today, and these are custom orders, like stuff that we don't stock on the site. So we do have a bit of a made to order program. So if you want something specifically and I have the leather, I can totally make it for you, and I can even customize something like this, the stitching color. So you can see on the outside of this Herbie, we've got some green shell on top of a reverse piece here. And then we sort of have this like neon pink thread. That is really, really neat. Nice little Horween ink stamp on the top. That's about perfectly cut. And then the interior, there's some hidden card slots underneath each of the normal Herbie slots here. So reverse ultraviolet. And I love this. I really like the dye marks on the reverse ultraviolet. These sort of like pink magenta colors. And then the right side here, this is actually teal latigo. This is the same leather that we're doing in the Tall Tony pre-sale right now. So that's awesome. That's one of the more unique Herbies that I've ever seen. Here's another Herbie that I love. This was a version that we looked at earlier that we're calling the Tall Herbie. It's the same concept as the Tall Tony, where we have this bill slot that goes all the way up the top, no thumb notch in the back. Check out how nice this color 4 shell is. That is just such a beautiful color. So the way I read this color, this is a medium brown with reddish undertones, but the reddish undertones kind of range. Sometimes it's a little bit more red and sometimes it's a little bit more caramel. Like at this angle, it's a little bit more yellowy orange and a little bit more red and brown at that angle. It's really nice. But check this out. How we're doing this tall stuff, getting this clean interior, is incredible. This is a really beautiful fat Herbie. And let's bring out some Tall Tonys here. All right, there's a bunch, right? And by the way, I can't see chat right now, so I'll get at you in a moment here. There's only a couple more wallets to go. So Tall Tonys, this is green shell. Really, really cool color. And the inside here, we've got green, but they decided to have the Horween ink stamp in the center. That's really neat. This is garnet. Look how clean this continuous piece of shell is on the inside. I love that. And that's because we're doing the tall version here. And if you're not familiar with the garnet shell, this is the most red color of shell cordovan that Horween makes. It sort of ranges from like a color 4 shade, like you can see here. And then if you tilt it, it gets ridiculously red. It's like cherry red. That's pretty neat. Here's a really unique one. Let's see. So we got marbled black shell on the outside. You can see these orangey tan shades that sort of fade in a random way to these more forest green colors. I'm having a hard time showing this one, but this is really, really beautiful. I'm getting a little extra glare today. On the inside here, amaretto, black, garnet, black amaretto. That's pretty cool. Very unique, Tall Tony. Here's another one with some amaretto. So we got amaretto and it looks like marbled black in the center here. This is like a really subtle marbled black. It looks a little bit more of just like a green. You can see a little bit of these yellowy orange tones on the undertone here, maybe. Let's see on the outside, whiskey shell. And we were talking about getting Cavalier from the Tannery Row. You can get whiskey Cavalier from them. It sort of has the essence of this whiskey shell cordovan color, but it's a little bit more yellowy, I'd say. It's a little less brown and more yellow. It's a nice shade. I really like the ink. If you want a blue leather, I really recommend the ink Cavalier. It's really, really nice. So here's we got an amaretto shell Tall Tony. This is my favorite shell color. And the inside more amaretto shell. This would have been, I mean, it's beautiful like this too, but I would have loved to see the continuous amaretto on the inside of this one. And here's another one of the Tall Tonys. These were all custom ordered. Actually, no, this one This one we already showed you. But all those tall Tonys we looked at, those are all custom makeups from people just asking us for something. Let's take a look. Here's another thing that I was struck by earlier. This is our Bugs Moran in like one of the nicest pieces of shell that I've ever touched. Super nice, bright, shiny luster and great color on this piece. The inside of this guy, we have the vertical card slots. So you can enter your cards in from the top here and slide them in. There's also little hidden slots underneath. And this is a variant on our Bugs Moran. Normally we have the card slots as oriented 90 degrees differently than this, but that's a really great piece of shell. And then I've got 4 foxes. And these are all also custom makeups. Here is, I think this, if I remember correctly, this is cigar shell cordovan. It is cigar. And cigar is kind of like the color 8. Here's, let's compare them. So here's the color 8 from earlier. See the color 8 here has a little bit more red burgundy to it, where the cigar is more of like a straight brown. Maybe this is not showing. They're pretty similar, but there's definitely more red and burgundy in the color 8. Where this cigar really reads more of just like a true brown with less of those red undertones to it. On the inside here, we've got black shell. Here's another black shell interior. But the outside's a little different. This is the amaretto. And this is actually what I wanted to show you. We can do different interiors on the Johnny the Fox, but we have to pick naturally thin pieces of leather. It's hard for us to do on rare shell colors. So we got the black there. We can also do color 8, which is this, with the amaretto on the outside still. And then we can do reverses of these two. I can flip the color 8 reverse and do a reverse color 8, or I can do a black reverse interior like these. So this has some of everything. On the right side, this is the color 8 reverse. That's a little bit more of like an orangey tan. And then the black reverse is this green shade. And the center here, we've got color 8 shell. And this also has the amaretto on the outside. So there's 3 different amaretto fox variants here that are all really neat. So that's all the stuff I wanted to show you today. We'll flip the camera back around. Oh, man, I don't even know what to pick. I guess I'd have to pick this one as a stunner just because it's so wild. I've never seen a wallet like this. Inside and out, it's just kind of magical. So that's going to be the stunner. I guess it's hard because there's so much good stuff. Let's flip this around and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Hello. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the chat and see what you guys have to say. Man, somebody left us a tip. Thank you so much. That's really nice of you, Trung. Man, that's great. Thank you so much, Trung. Back through the chat here. What's your camera setup? Let me get back to you. One sec, Marco. Mark says, received my bugs today. Amazing product. Thanks a lot, Phil. Cheers from Qatar. Man, from Qatar. That's crazy. I'm really glad that you like your bugs. And thank you so much for supporting us, Mark. I really appreciate it. And Marco says, what's your camera setup? The camera I'm using right now I've been really, really happy with. This is a Canon EOS R6 with a 35 to prime lens on it. And right now I have it going through a cam link into my desktop computer. And this is a Blue Yeti X microphone that I also really like. That's also going into the computer. And then I have it going into streaming software called OBS that outputs right to you guys right now. But the Canon EOS is super amazing. Timekeeper says, I get my Horween Leather from Buckle Guy. Yeah, you can get it from Buckle Guy too. Thank you for saying that. And I forgot. They also have Horween ready to go. You should check out Buckle Guy for sure. Those are the 3 I can think of. If I'm missing some, let me know. But it's Tannery Row, Maverick, Buckle Guy. There's probably other places too. Does District Leather still sell Horween? Trung. Yeah, thanks again, Trung. I'm glad that you're getting something out of this. I like to repeat this a lot, but leather is a language. And again, like before I worked at a tannery, I thought all leather was one thing, and I thought it was brown. So when my eyes were sort of opened up after working there for so long, I fell in love with it, and I just wanted to share these things that I fell in love with you guys. So I'm so glad that you're able to get something out of that and maybe understand and appreciate this in a new and maybe different way. What's up, Akil? Arena says, anyone selling their leather wallets as we speak or sniffing their leather wallets? Sorry. We used to get, I used to get people send me photos of them with a shell wallet just like around their nose. Those were the good old days. But people would send me photos sniffing their wallets. It's funny. What's up, Nataku? Good to see you. Good to see your name, man. Trunk says, I'm waiting for my black reverse tall Tony and a black Dublin with teal Latigo Johnny the Fox. Good choices. We're working on, we might even have those tall Tonys ahead of schedule. I know we're starting to make those now because the demand has been so high on them. We want to make sure we get you guys your stuff in time. MCC says, one more piece card holder. I know which one you're talking about, MCC. If you're talking about the one piece of leather that we folded to have 2 card slots in the inside, I loved that. I was surprised. Like we sold those private stock ones, but I was surprised that I didn't get a lot of people blowing up my inbox about them because I thought they turned out really well. I can totally make you whatever you want on that. Let me know. I don't know if we're going to be having any in the next private stock event, but I was really pleased. That was like one of my favorite. It's just so minimalist and clean. I like the idea of just one piece of leather. So I'm glad that you're into that. And Thomas Van Nuffel says, hello, can I ask you a question? I'm trying to identify some leather from a picture. Could you maybe help me with this? Thomas, yes, absolutely. Please send me an email. The better photo you can give me, the more helpful it will be for me to identify what it is. If it's Horween, I can 99% of the time know what it is, even from a bad photo. If it's not Horween, you probably had a 50-50 chance of me knowing what it is. But you can email it to me at phil@ashlandleather.com. It's PHIL@ashlandleather.com. What's up? Hey, Dale's here, Aero Surfer LV. If you guys aren't familiar with Aero Surfer LV and you're into boots, you're doing yourself a disservice by not checking out Dale's channel. I learn something from Dale every time I watch one of his videos, so definitely check out Aero Surfer LV's channel. Fatal says, do I know A&A Kraken Sons? Yes, I do. They're the European agent for Horween. Nataku says, can you put Matt on camera? Let's see the brothers. Matt's downstairs cutting your tall Tonys right now. If he was up here, I would grab him. Mike Cruz says, hey, Phil, curious, the patina on your watch strap looks good. Let's show you that. So yeah, this is a one day about a year ago, I came into work and one of my team members here, Lupe, said, hey, Phil, I made you this. And I said, what is that? It's a watch strap in the Dublin beltweight leather that we use. So she took the normal leather that we use on the belts and she made this for me. Oh my God. Focus. It's wearing in great. I'm really happy with this guy. Which is why I haven't replaced it. Everything I'm wearing right now is English Tan Dublin. Put the strap back on. Hey, these are all ready to ship too. Yeah. The custom stuff is separate though. Now we got to ship your wallets. Thank you. All right. Untouchable says, is that 24 karat gold? No, I think it's just plated. Jim says, hold it all and ship it together. No need to waste. So the gold buckle one will just hold. Okay. Nicholas says, it seems like a lot of leathers you use later become the cutting edge leathers of the next boot season. Is this because you are first to use the new Horween stuff, or you influence both? I actually disagree with you, and I appreciate the sentiment. The stuff that we're doing, we're not the first ones to do like Dublin wallets, for example. I just love that leather. And there are other people that have been using Dublin. We probably were one of the first people to do it just because, I had access to it. But we have been a pretty small company until like I started turning on the camera. So I don't think we were as visible. We're just more visible now. I do think I have a very strong bias towards like the things that I like, and I do try to push those things into the products I make. For example, the Latigo leather I really love. There's other things that we've done that I've just collected over the years that are old Horween products. These are things that have been around for decades. One example I'm thinking of at the top of my head is we did a really cool one-shot card case in a leather called Glazed Whaler, and it was this really nice blue color. It's a shrunken shoulder that Horween produces, and it's really nice. They make so many different leathers, and they're still making new ones. So the stuff that I'm doing isn't necessarily like the new stuff, because Chrome Excel has been around for a long time. I'm trying to do stuff that excites me that people want to buy also. At the end of the day, I don't get the opportunity to create things for you unless people purchase it. So it's a little bit of sometimes we take a lot of risks these days making things that we're calling the private stock stuff. These are things that are very exciting to us. It feels like the people that are supporting us on the private stock stuff are very much of a like mind right now. So it feels like we're doing the right thing. So I'd like to continue to do that and pick up leathers that aren't even named yet and put them into wallets and see what you guys think. Part of the reason that you're seeing a lot of crazy stuff from us is we have a relationship with the tannery where they're doing their private stock idea that I do. They're doing that with leather and new developments. So Skip Horween is going to try some crazy finishing method, and he doesn't know what it's going to look like in a product. So he'll sell that to me, which I'm happy to buy, and then we'll create something for him to look at. So we're getting that opportunity to help them envision or like fully realize the new leathers that they're trying to develop. So we do get some of that. Something like a tumbled shell cordovan we were the first to get because Skip wanted to try it and thought it was cool. Something like a psychedelic shell, which we still haven't been able to reproduce, or the tannery hasn't been able to produce it again. Something like that is also really neat. So we're trying to push new stuff, certainly. We're not, like years ago, I'm friendly with some different shoemakers, and I remember years ago telling them how much I loved the Dublin and trying to get them to buy it, and they never would. So like I've been trying to push my bias onto people for over a decade, and it works or it doesn't. But at the end of the day, like the stuff that you see is probably products and leathers that have been successful that people like. Like it's not very sensible for a shoemaker to make a whole run of shoes on a leather that people aren't really into because it's expensive. So, it's maybe people aren't as into the Dublin on footwear, but I think for a small leather good, it's probably a better use. But I love the Dublin. I think I went way overboard on your question, but that's a good question. And it does go the other way too. So when I'm talking to you right now about some of the leathers that you just saw, if you like something and I read that you like it, I am in constant communication with the tannery. So this is a good way to sort of get the pulse of like where you guys are at on what you like. And then they take that feedback and sort of continue in that direction. Like they don't want to make you something that you don't like. So something like the psychedelic shell, I heard you loud and clear. I still get emails on a daily basis for people wanting psychedelic shell. I love that. I don't have it. But what that allows me to do is to communicate that to the tannery that, listen, people really like this. Let's do it again. So we do sort of, there's like a nice cycle between the two companies here. James says, Color 8 is so nice, almost purple. That particular Tony we looked at earlier was a really nice piece of shell. D'Angelo says, these custom malts are awesome. Thanks, D'Angelo. Those are crazy. And I'm glad to see some tall Herbies. Just a huge piece of leather on this. Like, this is super big. and then this continuous piece on the inside, that's magical. I love that. I'm skipping ahead by accident. John Gray says, order a bunch of made-to-order things today. Can't wait for your jet tags. Hey, John. Yeah, I whipped up that tag based on your specs. I'm sorry it took so long. You might be able to tell we're like kind of busy, but and I was originally, when we were chatting, trying to like say no politely because I didn't want you to have to wait so long. But I'm glad that you pushed me to continue to make that little fob jet tag, because we can definitely do it. Like, that's the thing, is like I want to do more than we can actually do. So sometimes I have to say no, but I'm glad we're working this one out for you. Good afternoon, Christopher Newey. Good to see your name, man. And Mike Cruz is here. Mike says, hey, Phil, do you still keep a leather piece in your pocket? I don't. I had a... What ended up happening, and made me stop, I was trying out... We weren't as popular a year ago or whenever I was doing this, but we were trying a new leather called Lancaster from Horween. It's this really light veg. And I had a piece of that in my pocket. And I things like that, I would keep doing it, and I keep ending up in the wash because I'd forget to take it out of my back pocket. So I end up ruining them by accident. So now I've just been using this one wallet that I love. I think it's time to try out another thing. I've been wearing, this is the prototype version of the Capone. So I'd like to try out something new. I'm not sure what that is just yet. But no, I don't carry the pieces around my pocket anymore. Kind of should, though. Nataku says that belt weight, yeah, it's thick. At first I thought it was too thick. I'm actually pretty pumped on the belt thickness for the watch bands right now. I think this is great. It's chunky, though, for sure. It's a chunkier look. Maj7 says, next private stock sale. We don't have a specific date yet, but I'm trying to get it for May. So hopefully early May would be a good time to check in. And you'll have plenty of notice on any private stock thing we do. I'll definitely give you at least a day heads up. If you're staying tuned to our newsletter and our YouTube channel here, you'll get some of that, some heads up before it goes up. Can we meet the Ashland team, Matt, Dan, etc.? Yes, you can. There are some people that aren't comfortable on camera, which I totally respect and I get. So I'm not going to do that. If somebody doesn't want to be on here, I'm not going to force them to. But I can tell you that we have our 10-year anniversary coming up, which is crazy. And Dan's making some really special stuff for the 10-year anniversary. He told me he specifically wants to present them to you. So we're going to have Dan on camera to present some of the 10-year stuff. Matt's kind of peeked in on some videos before. But yeah, I'll ask everybody if they want to be on camera. We can do that. Thomas, thanks for coming out, hanging out. Appreciate you being here. Jim says, if Phil is the English tan Dublin SAR, that makes me the whiskey man. All right, whiskey man. I do love English tan Dublin. Ball says, my dream is tumbled UV shell. I don't think they've done that. That would be crazy. That would be really cool. And Jim says the psychedelic shell was off the hook and the best, and is best left as the rare shell private stock. Find it's too special to bring as a norm, plus the tannery time and energy to try to make it again. That's like really selfless of a statement to make. A lot of people want the psychedelic. I don't imagine that you're going to see it in large quantities ever, because most of the leather that the tannery wants to produce is for larger audiences, and there's just more people making footwear than wallets and stuff. So I don't think you would see the psychedelic on a shoe or a boot unless it was like a really wild piece. So I don't ever see that leather becoming a huge deal, and it's very random, so it'd be hard to make a consistent shoe out of it. But I'd like to get it again. I think it looks awesome. All right, Nataku, see you later, man. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap it up here. 10 years. You 13? Oh, you've been around since year 3. Yeah, we started in 2011. It really feels like we've become more known, like, again, like since I turned the camera on, which is only about a year ago. But we've been doing a pretty nice bit of growth. Like every year we sell more stuff, just by word of mouth. And, you know, we don't really, there was a point where I would do, like, if you came to our website, you would see a message on Facebook that said, hey, remember us? But we don't do any advertising. So, you know, everybody here came here organically, and everybody that's got a wallet got it organically. We don't do any advertising. So it's pretty neat that we've even lasted 1 year, let alone 10. It's pretty wild. But hey, if you have any questions about how to get Horween Leather, just ask. You can ask me, but the best place to go, just go check out horween.com, and they have a contact form. They specifically told me to ask you to fill out that form and ask them any questions you want. And they're really good over there. They'll get back to you and give you like the best information. But in my experience, getting the Horween stuff is tough, especially if you want something unique. If you need something made to order that's a unique treasure, you're going to wait a long time. You're going to have to buy a lot, and it's going to be expensive. So the best advice I can give for somebody like me, you're in a smaller shop, or maybe you're just a person doing it for fun, check out Tannery Row, check out Maverick. Somebody reminded me about Buckle Guy. Check Buckle Guy out also. These 3 stores have leather waiting for you. And I wanted to point out again, the Cavalier that Tannery Row has is really nice. I really, really like the ink Cavalier. I'd like to go, I want to do like a high def video, just do like a 4K video of some of the swatch books that Horween has, and like describe what I'm feeling. That might help some of you that are shopping for leather have a little bit more information. But check out the Cavalier at Tannery Row. I really suggest it. And everybody here that's hanging out, appreciate you guys so much. Nataku, yeah, baby girl. She's getting big already. She's getting a couple pounds. Dad life. Dad life. All right, Nataku, Jim, John Gray. Thank you guys so much. Everybody else is here. And I forgot. Trung Lam, thank you so much for the tip. That was awfully kind of you. I really appreciate it. It's not expected, and definitely appreciated. Really nice of you. So everybody else, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I'll be back again soon, and take care.